All right. Well, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another stream here. YouTube says we're live, so we're hoping and praying.
Yeah,
Today we are with another Speaks. This
we're
is
from the same family.
Seabolt Speaks interviewing. Also, how do you pronounce your name?
Elysse.
Elysse. Okay, that's what I've been saying in my head. But after the mispronunciation with Valeria, I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna ask because
Oh my gosh,
I'm really
yeah, you
big.
don't want to. I think it's just the way my mom spelled it. She wanted to kind of flex on everybody, so she really didn't have to do that. But
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if that's just the Appalachian ness of me, where I'm just like I never know because I'm like Elise, Alyssa, you know what I mean? And I'm just like I don't know.
possibilities are endless.
Anyway, if you want to do just introduce to people a little bit about yourself, and
Yeah,
then we will start.
yeah, I'm very used to introductions because I teach online. So I'm Elysse for people that don't already know me. Elysse De Vega, but I go online by Elysse Speaks because I do be speaking.
Mhm.
So I feel like it's cringy to consider yourself like declare like I am a polyglot, but I am because I speak English, Spanish, French, German, Portuguese. I sign American Sign Language, and this year I started Chinese. So I do videos about my experience with that, travels where I get to use my language, and also just personal life stuff. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm all over.
yeah. I think that you fit the speaks mantra a little bit better than I do. So,
What
um,
do you mean? What do you mean?
well, because the only thing I speak, and I haven't like the problem is the languages that I would consider myself to be a speaker of, I haven't used in so long that um, I don't know. Like I don't even know what I would consider myself a
Right.
speaker of anymore. So obviously English is my
That hurt.
native. I speak Esperanto and Spanish, but both of those are kind of, you know.
Uh-huh. I
So
mean, I know. I remember from your video with Lindy that you said you have like a B1 in Spanish or a B2
yeah,
certificate.
I passed a B1 certificate, and that
Good
is why
job.
I know that tests may not mean anything. Because
Yeah, I've never taken a test and I'm scared too because they're gonna be like, "Congrats, you are A1," and I'm like, "Wait, what the hell?"
yeah,
Like, what happened?
it's like no, I feel like I feel like I'm better. I feel like I'm better than that. I don't know. It depends on the topic, but I think that goes with any language. But like,
Mhm.
um,
But
I don't
that's
know.
big to be able to actually like speak a conlang because I feel like everybody I know that studies conlangs just dabbles versus someone that like
Hmm.
puts work into it to speak it.
Yeah, well, my main thing with it was I had no confidence in language learning at all. Like I'd been studying several things for so long, and so
Hmm.
Esperanto was kind of my last hope of, all right, this is supposed to be the easiest thing ever.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
if
also, there's no native speakers to embarrass yourself with, so
that's true too. That's true too. So, well, obviously, we're gonna field some questions from the people watching, because I mean
okay.
that's what I do in these live streams. But we also have a couple topics, which I hopefully I can start doing that more regularly. A lot of times we come into this blind, which I think works perfectly. But you know, you
Mhm.
also presented some really interesting topics that I think that we can both relate to and speak on. So,
Or,
do you want to start with language burnout or the oversharing online?
I think for me right now, maybe the oversharing online is a bit more relevant.
Hmm.
So I have an account on pretty much every like major social media account, of course, YouTube, Twitter, and also Instagram. And I think, of course, YouTube is now my biggest one, which, whoa. But yeah, so it's like, when you're representing your like language progress in so many different ways and in so many different platforms, I think that I don't even know, you get distracted, of course. And this isn't anything new by any standards, but it's kind of like really caught up with me by the end of like I want to say March, and then I've been kind of incognito private with it, and
Hmm.
um, so like in my last video where I did my German progress in over 2 months, it was
Hmm.
like, I was still planning that for social media, but it was like more of a, I guess, like a responsibility for myself as well, just to
Hmm.
speak, and then I could show people later. So I think I've kind of been transitioning into not, showing every single corner of what I do, which is
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, and I'm glad. I'm not going to lead into it now. I'm going to try to stay focused on what we're talking about. But I'm glad that you brought that video up because I watched that video and there was a couple things that I took away from that I want to address because I really love what you did. I don't speak German, but like I love what happened in that video because even if you don't speak German, you can see this thing that happens. But we'll get to that.
Awesome.
In terms of sharing online, what I had a comment on a video I did recently, and somebody asked, do I think that basically is doing these live streams cut into my study time in terms of what I'm doing, and realistically, you would think yes, but honestly, no. And the reason is because the more that I share online, the more it makes me want to study because I can't be the guy who's like, oh, I've been studying hardcore for this, but I don't have anything. So like I try to study even harder in order to be like, see, look at this progress. And I know that you shouldn't rely on that, but unfortunately, that just in my personality, the way that I am, I do. But I actually think it's helped me because I'm like, these people are seeing me do this, and especially people who have watched my channel for a while know that I've jumped around. So I'm like, no, I have to do this Japanese, and I have to focus on it, and I have to be, not that I have to be good. Technically, I don't owe anybody anything, but like, I think it's helped me actually study a little bit harder because of how much I share online.
Interesting. Yeah, and I was gonna say that it's like that's dangerous, and you don't want to realize, like 2 months later that like, oh wait, if I'm just studying to show it to people, then like what happens if I lose motivation or if I want to do something else? Like, are people going to be disappointed? And then, I got to a point like that where I was just like, wait a minute, I'm like, who the hell am I learning this for? And I was like, and I was thinking about myself so many years ago when I first started getting interested in all these languages, and ultimately, my only goal was to be able to communicate with people and I don't even know, find also different parts of myself, because I feel like that comes with language learning. So for me, definitely I've been, trying to what's it called, deter myself from doing that, because if I plan like a progress video or something, and I don't know, plan out things to say or something, it's like, I don't know, the whole purpose for me kind of gets lost. So
Sure.
I'm still very early in like my whole YouTube path, even though I've been doing it for 5 years technically, because I've been only dedicated to language for about maybe 1 year. I'm still trying to find that balance of like never, like just getting in too deep for myself.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, I don't know. I think especially, I mean, you read comments and just people say some stupid stuff, but
For sure.
I mean, it's not like the larger that your channel grows, there is a pressure that comes with it. And it's hard to explain. My channel's not huge, but I do feel a little bit more pressure now with even the small following I have versus when I first started and I had 100 with 3 people watching, so I definitely think that. Where you live, do you have the opportunity to just go out and speak with people? Like,
No, not anymore. Because I'm from Florida. Well, okay, let's go through the whole like background story. My whole come up. So I was born in this city in Memphis, Tennessee. So I lived here until I was 11, and then we moved to Florida when my parents split. So Florida is like, I basically lived half my life here and half my life there. So for Florida, it's super easy to like speak Spanish, because I remember one of the moments that I really got more confidence in speaking was when this girl, I think her name was Perla. She was Dominican, and she went to my bus stop in high school. And I remember like every morning I would have a little index card, and I would write like little things that I could ask her. And they were terrible, of course. And my mom speaks Spanish fluently, so I would always like ask her, like, Mom, are these questions good? Like, are these right or something? And, living in Florida, you definitely have access to a ton of Spanish speakers. So given that Spanish is like my strongest language and the one that I kind of loved the most, it was like, super confidence boost. But in Tennessee, it's not very I think.
What's hilarious is you don't realize how huge Tennessee is until I live the part of Virginia I live in. I'm very close to Bristol, Tennessee.
Okay.
But like Memphis is like 8 hours away from me.
Oh yeah, I know.
Like,
we're super long.
Tennessee is such a long state. It's so crazy.
Yeah, and I think Memphis is really unique. It's like, I always say, it's not like any other city in Tennessee, just because we have a lot more like different racial demographics as well. But yeah, obviously in comparison to Florida, it's nothing, but yeah, it's not like Tennessee in that way, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, I had mentioned in your in Instagram. I was like, "Oh my god, I'm jealous. Memphis has such a crazy rich wrestling history," and you're like, "What?"
I'm like the worst Memphian ever. I'm just like, what the hell are you
Yeah.
talking about?
All right, hold on. I just want to acknowledge just some stuff happening in the chat here.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I can
Uh,
see it, so I'm curious
what's
myself.
going on? What's going on? Do you want me to send you the link to this? I probably could have done that.
Oh, see, I'm like such a grandma with all of this. I don't know that we could do both things at one time.
Okay. Let me see. EKM says, I'm subscribed to you both. Very excited. Welcome, welcome. Eliana says,
Ooh.
hi. Yanni, I do be speaking. Come to Japan is here. Welcome, welcome. Natalia Garza is here. Welcome, welcome. To
Hi,
Larry,
Natalia.
welcome. Lots of people in
Some
here. So thank you all for watching. Actually, almost 40 people watching right now. So,
oh,
um,
spicy.
you say the Spanish is your strongest language.
Of course, no doubt.
And then where would you go from there? Like you don't have to rank all of them, but like where would you go in terms of
Yeah,
just a couple?
yeah. I remember seeing a tweet. It was like when you tell people what languages you speak, do you go in order of fluency or like chronologically when you learn them? I always go
Yeah.
chronologically, but now that I have to rank them, because I hate ranking them. So for of course English, then Spanish because I've been speaking that for almost 10 years, over 10 years. Then French, I would say. French and Portuguese is like a hard thing. Then of course I think American Sign Language,
Hmm.
German, and then of course Chinese because very very little Chinese. But
Right.
yeah, those are very tentative. And it's hard.
Yeah. No, I can understand. It's hard to rank because I think probably in each language, like there's things in Esperanto that I can understand and could say that I couldn't in Spanish and vice versa. So it's hard to really put them on
Yeah,
a
yeah,
scale.
it was interesting because like when I started to learn Portuguese, I got like winded by all of the things. I'd be like, "Oh, this word is so weird in Portuguese. It's so different in Spanish." And then I would find out that the word also exists in Spanish, but it's just way less used in place of something else. So I'm just like,
Right.
kind of help each other out.
Yep. And I'm sure like when your Chinese knowledge will be, like my things that I would learn in Japanese is completely different because of the media that I'm consuming.
Okay.
So
Yeah. I feel like it's much easier to find Japanese media than Chinese media because
yeah.
I was watching a podcast it was like a video podcast. It was like these ABCs, American born Chinese people talking about why they never learned Chinese. And it's because in China, it's very like black and white, like we are the East and they are the West.
Mm,
Whereas I don't even know, like in Japan, they have some more westernized elements. So it's easier for us to resonate
mm,
with it, I guess. But yeah, it's hard for a Chinese learner out here.
yeah. I've studied just a very little bit of Chinese, and I actually had a thing today where um, I was going through my recognition RTK deck, and I came across it's the symbol for like if you're negating something in Chinese, it's bu. It was that symbol, and so like I saw the symbol, and like what's funny is even with my limited Chinese knowledge and study, I saw that and I said boo. I was like, that's got to be negative,
Oh, wow.
and I clicked on it, and of course it was like negative, to negate or whatever, and I was like, that's
Context.
hilarious because of that. Do you have
It's funny.
interest in other Asian languages, or is Chinese kind of just it right
Well, it
now?
depends. For East Asian languages, like I don't think so because I tried Korean.
Mm,
Lord forgive me for that one. And then Japanese, I don't think I ever could. If I was to learn an agglutinative language, it would be Turkish. So for South Asian languages, I think I like for this year I wanted to get into some Tagalog, but
mm,
I think I'm also just still kind of ignorant about Southeast Asian languages. So therefore, like my lack of knowledge keeps me from wanting to
wanting,
because I'm just like focused on what I'm doing right now. But I'm
yeah.
certainly down in the future.
What is your general platform for trying to maintain so many languages? What is your kind of process?
Right now I am like doing something that I've never really done before, which is just do one at a time. Like,
Hmm.
holy crap, it's too much to ask for like a multilingual person. But so for the last 2 months I was focused on German and now I'm on Spanish. But that doesn't mean that I don't exercise my other languages in other ways because I've been super guilty in the last week of like immersing myself in Portuguese for some reason. So I've been talking to my Brazilian friends a lot more, which just happened. And I was watching this show called Pesadelo na Cozinha, which is Nightmare in the Kitchen. So it's basically like a Gordon Ramsay show. And it's just so funny. So I've been watching that a lot. And so yeah, basically it's just like it's just like my other ones are such a big part of my life. And I have friends in those languages that I talk to. And I have media that interests me that's not purely just for learning. So it's like, I just allow myself that. But also something that I'm doing for German is, because like German and Spanish are my two big focuses this year. And so like every 2 weeks I'm having a lesson in German and, just kind of taking whatever comes. I'm like still figuring it out myself, but I think I'm very nonchalant at the moment. But yeah.
Yeah, that's I get what you're saying about having media, because like with me in Japanese, that's the thing. Like I want to learn Japanese because the stuff I want to consume is Japanese. So it's like it's kind of that thing. Like it's hard for me like there's languages I want to study, like, but I don't know, and maybe I could find stuff for them, but like, like if I was even to dabble in like Hindi or something, I wouldn't necessarily go out and seek content. I mean, I probably would if I was getting into it eventually, but kind of the reason that the ball fell at Japanese is because, all right, well, I love Japanese movies. I love like Japanese drama. I love a lot of aspects about their culture. Japanese pro wrestling is one of the greatest things on the planet. Like, so it's like that's where it lies. I got to get you into pro wrestling, man. That's my goal.
I think that's gonna be like the least productive goal of this life.
Okay. Let me see. Hold on. Let's see if we have any questions here, real quick. You don't have to study anymore.
Because the sun is setting.
Let me see. I'm here, Korean. I need to change that. How's it been, Portuguese? So you, so I'm gonna just jump into that the 2-month German video that you made.
Sure.
And especially because like a lot of people that watch my channel are following me because like I'm doing like the mass immersion approach for Japanese and stuff. And one of the things in mass immersion is about prolonging the starting output. Like you kind of wait, because the idea is you just internalize the language and then you produce it. Which again, the bigger idea is that if you don't have the language in you, what are you going to produce? So there's definitely elements of it that make sense. However, which I'll probably be the black sheep of MIA, because I'm going to start outputting way earlier than several years from now, or whatever the goal may be. But what I noticed in that video was, and again, I don't speak German, but from day one, when you're like, like, and you're kind of piecing that together, after 2 months of speaking, like it was more natural, and like there was a lot of time. It didn't look like you were translating in your head. It looked like it was just coming out.
Yeah, dude, that was a really big step for me. And even people were commenting under that saying like, I have no idea what you're saying, but you can clearly see like the change in confidence between when you started and when you finished, because the thing that I said this also in my update video that I did after that, the live, was that the hardest thing about German is the cases, because it's like intertwined even into the most basic sentences of the language. So even to say I am from the United States requires you to know what a case is and why the sentence changed. So it's I think for me that was the hardest part, was not so much like not translating in my head, because the vocab sticks super easy for me, but was like, am I using the right ending on this word or the right adjective? Like, does this go with this? And it's kind of like doing a puzzle, and you have to do it in 3 seconds or less to sound like fluent, I guess.
Right. Yeah, that's always the like the thing. Like you can always tell when somebody's doing their speaking videos if they've actually acquired the language, or if they know it but they're still having to go through their head and like let me piece that together.
And I was mixing, because I still do study with like a grammar textbook, and I do gels and stuff, so that helps me to have a foundation. But then I am a person that loves to listen and that loves to like watch stuff. So like, that also helped me with my accent and just getting the natural rhythm, I guess, because after a while the cases aren't so much of like, does this go with this, but rather like, it just like, it goes together like a whole piece by itself. I don't even know. It's hard to describe, but it's like, it just, you start to realize what doesn't sound right. So it's like, that's when you tap in the native thing. But I'm still like a far way away type of fluency. I think I'm still like between B1 and B2, but we're still on the road.
Yeah, it's just the more practice, then it'll start to go. Do you are you pretty much a traditional learner, or do you use the applications of the world?
Okay, 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 yeah. Traditional. I think I'm terrible at. Okay, because you are like super, I guess, like knowledgeable about all the different approaches because you do these lives all the time. But
Mm,
I kind of just stay in my little corner. And I think for me, I'm like very organic. I'm just like, I need someone to listen to. I need somebody to talk to. I need something to read.
mhm,
And yeah, with apps for German, I haven't found anything that's been super amazing.
mhm.
Whenever people recommend or ask for recommendations for apps, I'm like Quizlet, but that's like my own work, so it's
Right.
not really like an app that gives you content. So I think I would define myself as more of a traditional learner. Now that I'm becoming more private too, I'm using less like flashy stuff. And
Mhm.
yeah, I do want to try Lingoda soon though, because people are talking mad good stuff about it.
Yeah, yeah. The Lingo to like I really want to do the like the Lingo to Sprint,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
again, like I'm so focused. It's the most focused I've ever been in studying languages in terms of what I'm doing with Japanese right now. So I just
Cool.
can't I can't pull the trigger because like I think like my Spanish, I think the biggest deal is trying to get it out of me. You know what I mean? Like
Mm,
and I you can understand more in your native language what's spoken to you than what you speak. But like I think if I
yeah.
spent the whatever it was 60 days, night whatever it is, 3 months speaking every day to somebody, man, I think that would I think I would be good. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it's like you just have to force yourself to do it. I have a question then to you. Well, like, which dialect do you learn? Because I'm also very curious, like when people learn Spanish, because there's just so much choice. Have
uh
you chosen?
the accent that I studied the most because my the one of the people teaching me was from Argentina. She's from Buenos Aires.
Oh, oh
So
Lord.
it's that
Bingo.
super like yo is Joe, you know?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Insane, dude.
and then they rolled her R. Like if there's an R, it's getting rolled. There's no kind of.
Yeah, of course.
They're rolling the crap out of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I know that, like, with if she's from Buenos Aires, the porteño accent is super. It's like super. I've read that it's influenced with Italian because there were so many immigrants there.
Hmm.
So, like, that is like barely was like hanging on to its Spanish. So I'm interested to see like where that's like regional dialect goes in the future.
Hmm.
Maybe that'll be like the vulgar Latin of the future 600
Right.
branches or something else.
Let me see. Comes to Japan says, "How do you think your life has changed because of learning languages?"
Me?
I
Hmm.
dyslexic that. I guess even if I said language learning, it'd be the same thing. But learning
Yeah.
language.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's provided me a lot more security in my future because it's helped me discover what I want to do.
Hmm.
When I grow up, I'm kidding, I'm 20, so I can't really say that anymore.
Right.
But yeah, so of course it's given me more job opportunities because being multilingual is like, as much as y'all don't want to hear it sometimes, like it's increasingly in demand because multinational companies are, of course, increasing so much. But
Right.
aside from like a practical point of view, I think it's helped me to know myself a lot better.
Hmm.
Um, because, when you learn other languages, you get exposed to different ways that people see themselves, different ways that people express themselves. And you're like, oh, I never thought about this in this way. Because, like, not to be fake deep, but like the concept of missing somebody is, different in every single language. And yeah, yeah. So it's like you kind of get a wider range of how to know yourself and express yourself. And yeah, it can be very romantic to learn languages
Yeah.
sometimes.
You can definitely fall in love with cultures and stuff that you never, knew that you would. Like there might be a language that you dabble in first. Like I know, like the big thing now, man, is I know people who are like, I dabbled in Icelandic and now I want to move there. You know,
No, that's a
like
drag.
yeah. So I mean, I understand what you mean by that. Have you left the U.S.? I know. Well, you've done travel logs. I know that's. Let me ask that as an open ended thing for maybe somebody who hasn't watched your channel. I'll pretend. But like, where all have you been?
Okay, yeah. So I didn't even get out of the United States until I was 18,
Hmm.
which I feel like Americans, we like, we are not, the majority of the people here are not rich, so most of them do
Mm,
not travel outside of the country before they're independent or adults.
yeah.
Whereas it's very different with like Europeans, because like Spain is right next door. Okay, let's go back to France now.
Right.
But, you know, it's just crazy. So I actually didn't get out until I was 18.
Hmm.
But since then, I have traveled to Spain twice, Portugal, Germany, France for like 5 hours, Mexico, and Morocco. And I've spent the most time in Mexico.
Nice.
So just, yeah, and mostly in Europe, and then one North Africa, which is basically like people call Morocco and South Africa like
Mm,
Africa for beginners,
right.
and then also a little bit of Central America.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm 32 and I still have not left the United States. The closest I got was uh, I went to Houston one summer. So it's like,
Okay, well,
and I've been to the Gulf of Mexico. You know what
hmm I
but
went to its Gulf. I was there.
I've never been out of the country, and I want to. And this year, was planning on taking a couple of trips because of just some situations arose to where I could, and then of course situations arose to where I could
Um,
not. So
exactly. That's the worst. It came like at the worst possible time, but I don't want to go down the depressing conversation of
yeah,
Corona.
yeah, yeah. Let me see here. Anything else coming through here? The one
Yeah.
from in German, just knowing what to say is called Sprachgefühl. That
Sprachgefühl. That's
that's
good.
that's probably much not pronounced very good. That's my problem. I dabble a little too much with language. Do you dabble a lot, or pretty much once you
Ooh.
choose something, do you go for it?
I'm down for dabbling. I did a video a little bit ago about Italian dabbling, and I decided that I don't like it. Sorry, guys. I mean, I do like it. It's just that like it doesn't call me.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I'm definitely open to it, and I had a couple this year that I was going to get into. But I think that yeah, it's more just like I don't like to spread myself too thin, and I know like when I see a future for myself in it, or like I can see myself really falling in love with it.
Mhm.
But I don't know, it usually calls to me even before I dabble in it. Like I don't need to dabble in it to know,
Mhm.
if that makes sense. Like I don't need to know what the grammar structures are to know that I'm interested in like the people, or I
Yeah.
want to I want this to come out of my mouth someday, you know?
Right. Do you what is so like after studying something like German with all the cases and all that crazy stuff, and then jumping into a language like Chinese where there's no verb conjugations? Like what? How is that? Yeah, how is that been? I know that like the le in Chinese that makes it past tense, I know is used for a ton of things, and so I feel like that can be
Or
confusing. But like,
that's like the beginner stuff when you're like, okay, this le is for making it into the past, but then it's just like it's like when you are in English 101 and you learn that the word get means to receive. It's
mm,
like, okay, but that's like not the only thing.
right,
It's like it could mean to understand, it could mean to I don't know, it could mean to receive, it could mean to become, so many different things. So
right,
yeah, the stark contrast, you know, because I went from Chinese and then I like yeah, I went straight to German, and it's like, yeah, my brain just kind of has different neighborhoods for those things now. So it's, I kind of, I guess it's like a relief in some areas, but then, you know, it's like I don't really have to worry about doing character drills every day or like
mm,
when I write Chinese because they share the alphabet with German. But then it's like, you know, I talk about this all the time with Asian languages because I tried to do Korean because the alphabet was easy, but
mm,
then I found out that the grammar was crazy. And
mm-hmm,
then I wanted to do Chinese because the grammar was easy, but then the writing system was crazy. So
right,
kind of like the same thing, like switching between Chinese and German because it's like you sacrifice one thing and then you get something else easy.
right. No, I mean it makes sense.
Can never learn.
Like one of the things I love, like I know that they're like depending on how traditional of a learner you are, people there's a lot of people that hate the idea of remember the kanji. But
Hmm.
what I love about it is kanji. Like I can see a kanji even if I've never seen it before. It's no longer these foreign scribbles because remember the kanji has actually taught you how to break it down into
Yeah,
the elements. That way, it's at
the
least
radicals
a
first.
recognizable structure. So
Yeah.
even if you don't know what it is, you can be like, okay, that means to take. This is cavern. Like and so I mean, I don't take cavern may not be, which it means degrees if you have it. But I mean like but still it still teaches you how to recognize to where it's not just this blur of lines.
Yeah, because as an American, people always like, or you grow up hearing like, "Oh my gosh, Chinese is so crazy. They have pictures for a language," but until you start learning it, you have no idea that they're actually just like pieces that go together. So yeah, and then like looking back on that now and like seeing people that still think that it is just like pictures now, just like, well, I don't know how, I'm not gonna like go and explain that to them. So
Right. Well, that's I've said this before. People may be tired of hearing this, but like the biggest example I have of why kanji is so incredibly important is because, and I use the same sentence. I'm gonna try. Look, all right. I promise for you all for the next live stream, I'm gonna come up with a different version of the story. But like for example, for example, the sentence, neko kaimasu, which would be cat, and then kaimasu, kau is to buy. Well, kau, if you use a different kanji, it's pronounced this. It's kau, but that kanji gives you context that you're not buying the cat. It's a cat that you already own, even though it's pronounced the same.
I'm like very ignorant about Japanese. My boyfriend studies it, but he's like barely on the stages of finishing understanding the writing systems. So I'm just like, I'm learning it from other people now a little bit. Right. But I did know Neko because of Maneki Neko, the little waving cat. But that's about it.
Yeah.
I would someday maybe, but
you probably know a lot more words than you think. Like party is party.
Oh yeah. He also talks about that.
Yeah.
He's like, you'll never believe what this means, and then I just guess it because it's like an English loan word, or it's like. Also, there's like a lot of Dutch loan words in Japanese, so.
Yeah, they have a that's what katakana is used for, is because actually, and that's come to Japan. That's what he tweeted. Neko kaimasu, and then neko kaimasu. Like it's really cool the way that kanji breaks that down. I don't know. It's just interesting.
I wish I could have a better conversation about it if I knew more.
No, you're good. Do you have you used Anki?
Oh, I don't even know what that is.
Anki, okay, it's just the spatial partition. Oh no. No.
Anki, because I said Anki in my head, because I like English brain. Oh my god, I was like donkey. I was like, they really don't care about these names.
No, well, see, I used to say Anki, but like I've heard so many people say Anki, and then I started being subconscious about the way I was saying it. So I was like, all right. It to me, man. Thanks. Sorry.
No, I don't. Okay, I downloaded it for like 10 seconds, and I was like, no, because it's like user interface is like, it looks like something off of like Windows 99. I was like, wait a minute, and I think it's just like interface is also a very big part for me, because I hate to like be shallow or something, because people really do swear by it, but I don't know. I really don't know. It's I haven't really gotten into it.
I think I used to be really against it, and then one night after I was speaking with Matt, he stayed on Matt vs Japan. He stayed on, like, he spent hours helping me set my Anki up, because they've developed a bunch of add-ons for it and stuff to make things streamlined. But like one thing I love about Quizlet over Anki is if I pop a word into Quizlet, there's already text to speech. There's already all that stuff that I don't have to, like, it's just there.
Yeah, of course. It's very comprehensive. And plus, like, now when you put, because I was putting in some cards for Spanish today, and when you write something, it automatically translates it for you or gives you answers that other people have made before, because, I don't know, they're like surveilling or whatever. So it's like, it also is just more convenient, I think. So I think more and more in this live, I'm discovering how much of like a grandma old timer I am with my language learning.
No, but here's the thing: it works for you. Like,
I think so.
That's what works. Like, and I feel like just in terms of just the languages that you've mentioned and stuff like that, I mean, it's clearly a system. And realistically, if you look at a lot of people on, YouTube who are, I'm not going to say the F word, but really good in a language, right?
Oh.
No, not yet. I'm not gonna say the other F word.
Like,
no, but like who are really good in a language. Your people like Lindy, if we're talking Korean, like Natalia is incredibly good in Korean. Go Billy Korean is obviously incredibly good in Korean, and then Matt is incredibly good in Japanese. Dogen's incredibly good. There's a bunch of people who are great in these languages, and the thing that what I find almost all of them have in common is none of them use apps. Like in terms of like they're not like, all right, time for my do. They may use it casually, but they have a very old school approach in terms of whether it be books. With a lot of them, Matt uses the flashcards and Immersion. Like it's not you know.
But even when it comes to like flashcard apps, it's like, you know, that's like my work. I'm just using it as I'm just using the platform. You know, it's not like content that I'm getting from somebody else. And so if we do like a grand total on my language apps, like, okay, I have some Chinese apps just because beginner guidance, you know, so I have Chinesey, Hello Chinese, Playco for dictionary, Quizlet, word reference. So most of these are just like dictionaries or like flashcard ones.
Yeah.
And Closemaster, which I never use, so it's like I'm completely allergic to apps, kind of.
Yeah, I like the idea of Closemaster. The thing I don't like is it just throws like the very first sentence will be like, my car broke down and I need spark plugs, and like the word like broke down will be out. That's like, which word fits here? And I'm like,
hell if I know.
What's the context here? Like,
you didn't get the car yet?
Like I need to investigate it more. Also, I found out recently. I don't know if it works. Like, because I downloaded I saw an app or an ad for a new Japanese dictionary. Because I use one that's literally just called Japanese. This one's called Nihongo, which is literally the same thing, just in Japanese. But I found out that you can actually go into your settings on your phone. If you have an iPhone, I'm sure you can do it on Android too. If you go to accessibility and then you go to voice, let me see, what is it? I think it's voice control. Nope. Well, I'll have to look that up and try to tell it later. But spoken content. There it is. And then pronunciation. Anyway, there's a whole thing you can go through. But you can actually download higher quality audio clips, like of people speaking. And so I'm wondering, with that installed, because it's using your phone to produce those noises, if I have that installed, I wonder if Closemaster would actually be those higher quality, not like super robotic. Actually, there's one way to find out. Hold on, I'm gonna pop Closemaster.
Research live, people.
Yeah, let's see.
I don't know.
So,
wait, I've been Closemaster. Let's go.
Closemaster. Well, it's it says it's updating, but that's how long it's been since I've opened it.
Love that.
But I don't know. Let's see what somebody had asked earlier. I don't know where it was exactly, but somebody had asked earlier I know that you're studying Chinese now, but what is kind of on the future? Like, what language? The question was, what languages are you looking towards in the future?
Relevant. So I made a tweet a couple days ago about tentative language goals for next year. So I am kind of looking at Georgian and Turkish. So I've got like a weird Eurasian craving that I've never had before. So I'm like, what? It's kind of like when you're pregnant, you're like, why am I craving this food I've never gotten before? Not that I would know what that
the only thing my wife got cravings for were I don't know what they're called in Tennessee, because I feel like every place they're called something different, but it's they're called slush puppies here.
Slush puppies? What would that be?
It's basically like it's crushed ice in a cup, but with like flavoring over it.
Oh, a slushie.
Like ices. Yeah, okay, slushies. There you go.
That's funny. Yeah, no, I say slushie. But that's interesting. So but for languages that I already speak, because like I want to put a lot on my plate for next year. I think I kind of did it this year, and then like broke off. So yeah, those two, Georgian and Turkish, and then I wanted to kind of fall back in love with French because I have not studied it at all since high school. So when people ask me for resources, I'm like, oh no, I never studied it myself. And also get to a high level in Portuguese. This is my goals for next year, not so much different languages. And I think that was pretty much it so far. So I can definitely see myself at least dabbling in a Eurasian language next year. Even if I don't commit to it fully, I think they're beautiful and appreciated.
No, I can get that. And everything, I think everybody has their own different pattern that they, because like realistically, like I think of all the languages that I want to learn, and they're pretty much all in that cluster of Japanese, Chinese, and Mandarin and Cantonese. I want to learn both. I didn't mean to just flash a West Side symbol. I was counting. I was grouping them together. But Japanese, Mandarin, Cantonese, Korean, and then if you scoop down a little bit, I want to learn some Vietnamese as well. Like it's all just Asian.
Very nice.
Like that's just what I love.
I like when people get like interested in one region because I would say that like, oh, I'm super interested in like South America, Latin America in general, but like the majority language is Spanish and also Portuguese. But I also would like to get into some indigenous languages. So when you have a love for a region, I think it really shows. But just before we move on, I was going to talk about Turkish really quick. So actually, like I think the beginning of how I got interested in Turkish has been a couple of different things. So I don't know if you know, but there's a very large population of Turkish people in Germany because of like open immigration that started in like the 60s, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
But for that reason, there's like so many Turkish people in Germany. And when I was there, it's like, I think I heard Turkish on the streets more than I heard German. So I was like, what the hell? But also in Cologne, they have like the biggest, oh my God, English is, it's like a church. Mosque. Okay.
Gotcha.
They have like the biggest mosque in Germany. So I think it was that, and also, just listening to German music, there are like Turkish German people that are like Turkish ethnically, but like they are from Germany. So they always have like random Turkish words in their songs. And I would text my German friends, be like, hey, what does this word mean? They're like, oh, that is Turkish. I don't know how to help you with that. So like they're just mixing it in with their German songs. So I don't even know. It's I think I've gotten introduced to it in a couple different ways. And just having Turkish students as well. So it's like something I didn't expect.
Yeah. That's interesting. I wonder, it's almost like not everywhere in the United States, but I guess to kind of the equivalent would be how much Spanish is here. Like
Sure.
And then obviously the Spanish, it's like first generation born or second generation born Spanish Americans here.
Her here.
Yeah.
Memphis. But yeah, definitely it would be equal because it's so normal for us to hear Spanish in the streets, but if that would not happen so commonly in other countries.
Yeah. I think I think you were talking about indigenous languages, and see, that's where I think applications could shine, because I mean, like, I got so irritated when Duolingo released Navajo and there was no audio, and I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, I could be reading this.
A lot of money. Come on.
Yeah, and they have like a general pronunciation guide, but you don't know how words in English are pronounced different. So the way that I may pronounce that word may be different than the way you pronounce it anyway.
Yeah, I think that's kind of irresponsible. If they're going to be being like, ooh, representation, then like make sure it's actually good, because I think most people would not like something, excuse my French, half-assed than something like that. And I know that, I don't know, with Duolingo I'm kind of uneducated because I don't really use it, but I use it sometimes. And I don't know if they have like Latin American indigenous languages on there, but I would bet that it's the same thing, because if they're doing it for American like languages up here, then they probably would do it elsewhere.
Yeah. Somebody asked me, ¿Qué tal está tu español? No bueno, that's for sure. I've got to practice. Actually, I'm gonna Mark, the guy that runs the Language Come Up channel and Twitter, like he's really, really good in Spanish, and I've actually talked to him about doing maybe once a week, getting together, because I think again the biggest issue for me is just getting that language out.
Even if you're not native, it can be super helpful.
Yep. And I think speaking, and even if I'm put in a situation where I say, hey, listen, we're speaking Spanish for 30 minutes, do not break Spanish.
Right.
And if I have to go to a dictionary to look stuff up, like I honestly think that can help me kind of get past that hurdle.
Yeah, don't be fooled though. There are a lot of like random English words because I don't even know. There's like I was going on Twitter today and like most of my Twitter feed is Mexican for some. I don't know how that happened, but I think my
Mm.
algorithm got me into like Mexican Twitter now.
Hmm.
But, like this girl tweeted a picture of her pancakes and I saw the way she spelled it is Joqueis. So like hotcakes, which are hot cakes.
Hmm.
And they just like Spanishize it, or Tupperware is like topper. So it's like we still have a lot of random things that are in English.
Yeah.
So you could be right if you just said an English word in the middle of a
That's
sentence.
true. When I took Spanish in high school, I got to the point where I just said L and then put an O at the end of the word, and I was like, you know
We
what I
all
mean?
did that.
Like, and what's
I think
fun, what's weird is you'll be right.
yeah, you could be right sometimes because just by luck.
Yeah.
Spanish though, good deal.
Yep. And that's what like I always think like, man, I know a bunch of words. Every tion word, just change it to sion,
Yeah,
or you
you
know
get
what I mean?
the patterns done. You unlock like a huge amount of
Yep.
vocabulary. For
Or
sure.
like if it ends in ly, change it to mente, and you're for the most part good.
Yeah. And of course. And I think that's a lot of things that Spanish speakers or Spanish learners don't really realize. Because I've been like basically a TA for a Spanish 101 class before,
Hmm.
and I just feel like a lot of them are struggling because they see it as such a foreign language when they don't realize that Spanish is like the easiest language, in my opinion, for like native English speakers
Hmm.
to learn. So if you just change one little thing, it's like you can get so conversational in like a month if you had nothing else to do.
Yeah, I think like it's funny to me how much easier I think Spanish is than French because like and I've been asked this before as to what I think the most difficult language pronunciation is. I think like personally I do not understand French pronunciation. I've tried.
Interesting.
Like it's because the word is 37 letters long and
And
you
they only use
pronounce
five
it
of them.
yeah. Like you'll pronounce good and I'm like, "Okay, how's that pronounced?" And I'm like Goextl like
Yeah, right.
and I'm like, what are you sure? Are you sure that that's how you
And
pronounce
like
it?
we're not changing it. And it, like the French, basically, like I forget what it, like the French equivalent of Oxford, like dictionary or whatever, like of whoever gatekeeps the French language, they were thinking about doing like some orthography changes in the past couple of years because there's like some words that don't need an accent. But I think French people in general are very protective of their
Mhm.
language. Well, French native speakers, I should say, because like of course, of the random letters, but also there was a big debate if it was like le COVID or la COVID, but they determined it was feminine.
Mhm.
So even the smallest things, I think French people are very, or, sorry, French native speakers are very like, very conscious of what is right and what is wrong in their language, which makes it hard to be a learner
Yeah.
sometimes.
Somebody on the side said studying French and while ridiculous it feels more consistent than English. I'm not denying that. Like that's I'm not
Of
denying
course.
it.
It's because I always tell my students this, that English is like a mutt because we've taken like words
Yeah.
from so many different sources, and with those sources they bring their respective like pronunciation conventions. So like the depending on like where the word comes from, it's gonna bring its own like orthography. Because we'd say like chaise because that's like a type of furniture, but then we say chair, but
Mhm.
technically they come from the same language, so it's weird.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Let me see here. I mean, looking at history, thing, feminine code. Wonder if there was any bias involved. I don't know. I don't. Yeah, they feminized COVID. I wonder if there was any bias involved.
Feminist movement that they stuck us with COVID. Yeah.
Always
Hopefully.
wonder. I always wonder when new stuff. Like, I guess they have like there must be some kind of like committee that when new words pop up, they're like, all right, I guess we have to figure this out.
Yeah, because with the changing of time, you have to, and a lot of it's coming from English, like in terms of loan words. So it's like we have to keep it French somehow,
Mm,
whether it's like an accent or we put an E on the end or something to make it Frenchified. So I totally respect that. I low-key hate when English like infiltrates other languages, but there's some concepts that are kind of untranslatable.
mm. I wonder that the question about COVID being feminized makes me wonder like with the climate of the world, and I in no way, shape, or form do I have any interest in like turning this into a political conversation, but just on the terms of like gender in languages, I wonder specifically with what's going on in America right now. I wonder if we had genders in our language, if we would eventually just be like, nope, we're canceling. Like if, for example, if we were the German language, would we be like, you know what, die, der, das, we're getting rid of two of those. We're just sticking with the neutral. You know what I mean?
That's interesting, yeah, because it's there's actually initiatives happening in gendered languages, like especially in Spanish. I know there's like the lenguaje inclusivo, which is inclusive language, where you, for example, you say like mis amigues with like GUES, so it's like it's not just making everything like masculine neutral, because in Spanish, if you have a group of boys and girls, it
Yes.
automatically goes to masculine, so it's not truly neutral. So I think
Right.
that it's interesting that they're actually moving towards that way, and a lot of people they refer to their friends as like perros, but which is like dogs, but they put like an X instead of an O. So I think that's awesome because it is inclusive, but yeah, it would here that's such a different kind of issue. So it would be interesting to see how that folds out, of course.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just the random like I've thought about in the past about that, and then seeing that comment about that, I was like, I wonder how because sometimes
Yeah.
I'll get like random ideas about like languages. Like when I was talking to Lindy about we were talking about Korean and Japanese, and I was like, so like in America, the punchline is like for example, if you're telling a joke, and then you'd be like, I went to the store. Oh, gotta get the store. But like in Japanese, from where the verb is last, would it be like, oh, the store? And then you're like, oh my god, did he go to the store? Did he play the store? Did he hit the
Yeah, because
store?
everything is like backwards. Because I saw like a
Yeah.
picture of like those lines connecting to where this word goes in the
Right.
sentence, and it was like Japanese was like this, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna head out.
Yeah.
Never mind. So
Yeah.
it's crazy. The
Yeah.
context.
Yeah. I don't know. I wonder. Like, I'm sure that somebody could probably answer that pretty easy, and I probably could look it up and eventually and see. Because I'm sure realistically, their comedy is probably just different from ours. Like, it operates at a different. It just operates differently. And I know comedy is like one of those hard to translate things. I watched a video on translation, like people who are professional translators, and they were talking about how like when you're talking to somebody, don't try to make a stupid joke that like you may not understand it, but like for example, words that sound similar, right? Like if you're like, man, I can't even think of an example right now, but like like a word that sounds so similar, but then you could change it to something else just barely. Well, that's not going to translate, like
Yeah, true. With translators, I think I envy them a lot of the time because they're like the poster child of what it is to turn languages into a career. But now, it's changing into so many different things because, you can be like a UI UX designer and work with different language formats, or you can, do video editing and marketing for other companies, and which is like kind of what I'm doing right now in my college career.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think I kind of envy them sometimes because I was about to say traducers, Spanish. Translators are
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, they kind of like, I guess, keep this whole interest and profession alive and looking like something, I don't know, like official, profitable. I don't even know.
Yeah. Somebody just said a huge portion of Korean comedy is wordplay and puns. So yeah, I would just not. I would be like, oh, I would just laugh at the cues when everybody else would laugh. I'd be like, ha ha ha, ha
Do
yeah,
that all too often. Jesus.
yeah.
My God.
So what is your like your goals in terms of like you're going to you don't have to tell me what you're majoring in or like what you're in, but like in terms of like languages and like honestly especially with the just boom of your YouTube channel, like what's kind of your goals like in terms of like career?
Yeah.
I know it's weird to say YouTube as a career, but at the rate that you're going, I mean you can get a huge following and probably
Yeah.
pay some bills.
Yeah, of course. So thanks for that, you guys. But it's been crazy because I guess my whole like my whole interest revolves around having an internet connection and like technology in general
Hmm.
because all of my interests like so like for now I'll just go through the standards. So my major is digital media production, but I also study three minors, which are advertising, Spanish, and American Sign Language. So I kind of just put in the advertising because it's something like I guess what's it called, standard, or like that's going to make you money.
Hmm.
Um, but the thing is with languages, it's kind of when people asked earlier like how has it affected your life, it kind of it keeps opening doors for me because, I can earn extra income from YouTube on the side, sure,
Yeah.
but like, I don't think I ever want it to turn into my full-time job because, you look at some YouTubers now, like Shane Dawson, and you're like, man, he is, just holding on for dear life. About 10 years ago, like he was popping.
Hmm.
And I kind of want like what I do as a career or like as my work to be timeless. So I put this out in a tweet recently that I found out that I want to be a documentarian. So especially a linguistic documentarian, but
Hmm.
basically everything dealing with I would like to do some sociolinguistic stuff, but focus more on the like media production kind of side of it because I love telling other people's stories through media that really resonates with people. So
Hmm.
whether that be studying indigenous languages, which I would be really interested in,
Hmm.
or just minority groups, linguistic minority groups, or like I said this in my live, so if they saw this, I'll know this, but I always use the example of like what's happening with Afrikaans right now
Hmm.
because a lot of people see it as just a colonizer language, and it would just be awesome to be like covering that and to be a part of that and help people understand history like then and now in the simplest terms. So I think that of course I'm going to continue with YouTube like seriously and professionally because that's like it's more practice for me in what I want my whole life to be about.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
but
Africa, I love Afrikaans. I'm actually like low key studying it a little bit as well. Like it's like if I need a break from Japanese for just a minute, right? Like
I
I'll
like I
go,
just writing system.
yeah, I'll go to Afrikaans, because it's like it's similar to English, whatever.
Right?
Um, and I've talked to a few people, and they're like, "Well, I don't know why you would do that because if you need a break, you need a break." And I'm like, "But like to me, and the thing is like I've been going for almost 3 months hardcore on Japanese. I'm not
Okay.
stopping. Like, and I know that with just my past, like obviously you're like, oh, you're doing it again, but it's legitimately not happening. The swapping of languages, but like sometimes to me, like if I take a break for just not, and I'm not even a day, I still do like 2-3 hours of Japanese study, but I
Yeah.
will go to something that's easier like Afrikaans and just picking up a bunch of words real quick. It almost kind of like reboosts this confidence, like, there it is. So when I go
Or
back to Japanese the next day, it's a lot smoother.
and talking about confidence, I don't think we touched too much on burnout, but
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
was
gotta get
I
burnout.
was, I was gonna talk about this with Spanish. So it's like I've been, getting back into Spanish recently, and the thing is like, um, I at the end of the day, I'll be like, did I actually study today, or did I just like talk to my friends all day and like watch a movie? And I'm like, does that count? Am I valid? Is this burnout? Because it's like I'll have a list of words that I accumulate through the week that I don't know and that I'm supposed to put into Quizlet flashcards, and then I
Mm-hmm.
forget. So it's like I don't even know, but it doesn't feel like I'm diminishing my Spanish by not studying it. So I think that the way that I consume Spanish is very different, or the way that I study and like consume Spanish is different from my other languages.
Mm-hmm.
Because with German, it's like very clear to me, like I am studying, like this is language studying right now. Whereas Spanish has become such a big part of my life, and I feel like it's not like a foreign language to me anymore. Even though by no means am I fluent, it's just like
Mm-hmm.
in contextually in my brain it feels different. So it's like
Sure.
I don't know how to study when I get to such a high level, or like how to feel like I'm making any type of progress because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I still forget the word for fork because of like some convoluted story that's actually pretty funny. But yeah, so it's kind of frustrating when you get to a high level as well.
Yeah.
You think you feel a sweet release of like, yes, I'm C1 or I'm C2, but it's crazy.
Yeah. What's cool to me, not cool, just let me finish the statement, maybe you'll see where I'm coming from here. What's cool to me about the idea of burnout, especially when the other thing we were talking about was oversharing things online, especially when you start to become this kind of public figure. Well,
Hmm.
burnout is like people are going to look at that burnout as a bad thing and like, oh, you're just felt like language burnout is real.
Of course,
Like,
it's the worst, honestly.
and like anybody
But
judging you for it has also suffered from it, but they don't make YouTube videos. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, and at no point, I think I don't usually I don't even know. I've never heard of somebody calling someone out for burnout, but like, that's my tea. Like, that's my business. You're not the one burnt out. So,
Mm-hmm.
but the thing is with, yeah, it's just very weird because I think that burnout can also be kind of reassuring and motivating, like you said, because I posted a post about this on my Instagram before, and it was like language burnout. What is it? And I basically said like, when you feel like you have nowhere to go, it's like because you've already arrived somewhere, for example, and it can be reassuring in its depressingness because it's like, well, I want to make traditional progress in the way that I usually perceive progress, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like maybe that's not what this is anymore. So
Yeah.
confusing time, very confusing time to be an advanced Spanish speaker.
Right. Right. Yeah. Because I mean they always talk about the intermediate plateau, but I mean there's plateaus past that, like
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
are that are
There's beginner plateau, intermediate, and advanced plateau.
yeah. I think
It
the
seems
I think the beginner, and actually I'm gonna go. If you all want to start dumping some questions out here, like because we'll get to that. I didn't engage with the chat a lot, but start dumping some stuff out, and we'll answer some of that stuff real quick, or whatever. But I think beginner burnout comes from, or beginner plateau comes from people using so many different resources, right? So when you're using Duolingo and using Memorize and you're using, why do I keep saying losing? And you're using Mango languages and you're using all these things. Well, you're studying the same crap 15
yeah,
different ways.
that was me with Chinese. Like, I did myself like a 30-day challenge, and like literally it was way too much stuff to be doing in one day for a beginner. And I definitely like I don't even know. I kind of distanced myself from it after that because I was like, "Why did you do this to me?" But I was like, "Oh wait, I did this to myself." So
Mm,
definitely a real thing.
yeah. All right, let me see here. Let's go through some of these here. Do you guys think it's possible to learn a language or be able to speak it in a week, like many polyglots say? I'm gonna say hard no.
Hard no. I don't think we have to discuss that very hard. It's
Yeah,
just like it's if you see a video like that, it's definitely scripted
yeah,
or they have been focusing on just one area of vocab
yeah,
or something for the week.
yeah.
So
Let's see. Sometimes I think I'm too strict on myself. I don't feel like I've really studied if I don't do it in an exact way. I get what you're saying because like this may I don't know. I've actually I relate a lot of what I've learned in language learning to my fitness journey. And to put this in perspective, like I get what you're saying because if I work out at home, I do not feel the same as if I go somewhere and do the exact same thing. But it's the idea of
yeah,
leaving my house that makes me feel like I've worked out.
because you have like some kind of routine, or you're like, I did the thing that I always do. Yes,
Yep.
but yeah, I like. I think it can be refreshing to do it in a lot of different ways because, for example, little language board goals up here, it literally just says, like to try some podcasts this week, or attend like this group of Spanish speakers like, from Instagram every week. So it's like, so with I'm listening to different podcasts every night. It's like kind of just I don't know. It can be nice to shake things up. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you should feel bad for doing that or
Yeah.
not following a routine.
Yeah. No. And that's I stepped out of April 1st. I stepped out of my comfort zone because I had a loose idea of what I was trying to do just based off of following like the mass immersion approach. But like I just cold turkey deleted every gamification app from my phone, and I was like, I got to figure it out. What am I doing?
My
So
lord.
had to put myself in an awkward position, but it worked.
All the apps are gone. I was like, oh Lord. For
Mm,
me, I was like, welcome to my daily life. We got Quizlet, we got dictionary.
right. Let me see. In a week you can learn a lot, but definitely not to a fluency level. That is true. Come to Japan says I think I could have a little burnout. I think I could have had a little burnout in Japanese way back in college, but if you're learning and use language long enough, it just because what it do. So I've never really felt the effects hard. Yeah, you live in Japan, so you definitely like. I think that's the other thing too. I think you can become stagnant when you don't get to use it a lot, like because you don't feel that. Oh, I need to learn this. You're just like I'm learning it for fun, but
Yeah, yeah. If you don't use it, you lose it. Hold on, there is a spider in my goddamn bed. All right. Sorry, had to
uh,
abolish it.
no, you're good.
But yeah, no, of course, if you don't use it, you lose it. And the best way to need to use it is to be forced to.
Yeah.
So, but that's obviously not attainable for everybody if you don't live in the country you're trying
Yeah.
to learn the
No, for
language.
sure. The Larry says, does she have any German immersion resources to share? Favorite movies or shows?
Oh my god. I'm terrible at watching movies, even in English, dude. So for movies, no, I know that a lot of people, even like Mexican Twitter, is up all in this series Dark, and they're like, I don't understand the German at all, but it's so nice. So it's called Dark. It was a bit dark for me because, like in the first episode, like somebody hanged themselves. There was some sex happening. I was like, all right, it's like 10 p.m. But it seemed like it was very well directed. So I guess that. For immersion, of course, I just listened to the Easy German podcast and I watched their videos, which is literally just street interviews. So I think that's one of the closest things you could get to immersion, like living in the country, you know. But yeah, in terms, I'm not sure what counts as like an immersion resource. You know, is it like, yeah.
I count like what I count as immersion. Well, I have two different forms of immersion. Like if I like I count active immersion as something that I'm watching and listening. So there's like multiple things happen. Like I can hear it, but then my brain is also piecing together what's happening, almost trying to make a connection to the words.
Okay.
I count like kind of like this half passive or half active is like if I'm listening, because like I can have stuff on in the background and not be listening to it. But if I'm listening to it, I don't count that as full active immersion because I'm not being able to piece stuff together.
I'm terrible at immersion stuff, but I will plug my German playlist. If you follow me on Spotify, Elysse.devega, I have 2 hours and 19 minutes of German music, mostly rap, because that's just who I am. But yeah, I think, there's a lot of good music in Germany also because of like the Turkish diversity. Super cool.
Yeah. Jacqueline Sadberry says, I'm a chronic resource hoarder. Hey, nothing wrong with that. I mean, find what works. Let's see.
Sometimes.
I never really burn out because when I get tired of a language, I change the language. And if I get tired of the study method, I change the study method. Do what makes you happy.
Exactly. Could be hard though. If you like pledge to it for a couple of months like I am, it's like you have to find a way out of the burnout. But work on yourself.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Melania Trump claiming she's fluent in 5 languages but not showing it? Sounds like every YouTube polyglot on the planet.
I got nothing to say about that girl.
Did you ever watch Tatort? Tatort.
How would that be spelled?
Tatort. Tatort.
I've never heard of that. Would that be a show or a song or like an artist?
I have no idea. Also, let me verify. That's not every YouTube polyglot. I don't mean that the way it sounds, but there's a lot of people who are like, I'm a polyglot. Watch me count to 10. So. Yeah.
So let them just do what they like. But I think that, like people can see, I don't even know, like they can see what you do outside of videos. So people can decide for themselves now what they think of your fluency.
That's why I cornered the market on showing my progress.
That's the thing. And I try to show as much speaking as I can. I'm just like, I am not a fraud.
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking to my boss at work one day about how like my channel was growing and stuff, and he was like, "I guess you're gonna have to actually learn a language now." And I was like, "That's a joke on my channel, kind of like." I mean, I pending the situation, I would say that I speak Esperanto and Spanish, but I'm definitely not as good as realistically, I've just recently kind of got into wanting to actually advance in language. I was always a dabbler because I love to learn about cultures and stuff. So it's realistically, I'm more so kind of new into wanting to really progress. I was always just a dabbler.
It's interesting. Yeah, I think it's definitely like nobody just wakes up and they're like, I want to speak languages. It's always like there's a stepping stone. Like you had some really good Korean food at a restaurant and you wanted to read the Korean side of the menu, or it's like you... Like in my case, the girl at my bus stop that would like give me the awesome privilege of listening to my bad Spanish and having a conversation with me. So.
Yeah, the dudes at the Mexican restaurant that's right by my house, they were like basically once all this stuff starts to lift and stuff, they're like, come down, order some food and chat. We'll talk to you.
Aw, that's
and I'm
sweet.
like, all right, cool, man.
I think people are like some of the most like amiable, welcoming
Yeah.
people you'll ever meet.
And I'm interested to hear how he speaks because he asked me what dialect I had learned a little bit of, and I told him Argentinian. He was like, oh, he's like, I think he said he was from, I want to say El Salvador.
Oh, okay, Salvador
S-
too.
So I'm wondering like how much like
Uh-huh.
softer it's gonna be or something, you know?
Yeah, yeah. With the smaller like Central American countries that are all kind of squeezed together, I feel like I don't notice that much of a difference in words. As there are a few dialects in Spanish that really have like their own unique identity, which I believe are, of course, Spain Spanish because
Mm.
isolation, Mexican Spanish, Argentinian Spanish, and Chilean Spanish because, oh, and of course Caribbean Spanish, which is like a whole different genre in itself. But
Mm.
yeah, for the other ones, I feel like they're basically pretty
Mm.
understandable.
Mm.
So yeah.
Let me see here. What's up, Seabolt? How's the Japanese? Japanese is going great, as good as it can, I guess. Bad story, bad character development, characters. I don't know what this is in reference to. Just horrible overall. Something about a story. Something
Oh,
about.
Holy Dork, the German series I was
Gosh.
talking about.
Okay. Okay. Renault is the best on. Oh, nice. Yeah, The Mandalorian. Okay. Okay. All right. One can basically watch any movie in German because in Germany, basically every foreign movie gets a high quality synchro. Did not know that.
Like a dub?
I guess so.
Dude, I hate dubs. And I know that this is like when people watch anime, it's like the hill that they will die on, but like it's like it just breaks my brain if I'm not listening to something in its native language. Like I just need the subtitles.
Yeah.
Because it's like things get lost in the I don't even know. It just feels weird to find out an actor sounds completely different than their voice actor for the dub.
Yeah. Well, the problem I have with a lot of it is like you don't get the same emotion because they're not acting that scene. And I'm not saying voice actors aren't actors; they 100% are. But there's
Yeah.
a big difference in trying to like watch a scene and get that emotion than what the person who is just actually acting it is doing.
Yeah, and I know I was watching a video recently. It was in Portuguese about differences between like movie titles in Portugal and Brazil. So, like for example, Home Alone. In Portugal, it was released as like Alone in the House, but in
Mhm.
Brazil, it was like They Forgot Me. So, like
That's
they were.
amazing.
I know. I was like, it's the funniest thing ever. But they also talked about how in Portugal everything gets released subtitled, but in Brazil everything is released dubbed, and I'm like, what a nightmare.
Yeah,
I could not.
yeah. I love how titles differ. Like Japan is really bad for having these like 45 word like titles. Like for example, I can't remember exactly what it's called. I know that the Yakuza series of video games in Japan is called like Ryuga. Like there's like 5 or 6 words, and then and then in English we're just like Yakuza, like
Oh my god, that's
whatever.
insane.
So
Or one of my Italian students told me one time, he was like, "Okay, we hate Italian titles because it's always a spoiler. Like it's like the title is like he dies or something." And I'm just
yeah, yeah.
I have no idea.
Let me
But,
see. Uh, Jacqueline says, "I dream of doing a Lang channel, but making videos, even short ones, are draining. Any advice?
it is
You
strange.
you you almost have to have a passion for video making as well as languages. Like,
Yeah, because a lot of people say like, "Oh, I want to make language videos, but oh, like I'm not as good as I'm not as good at editing as you," or they're like, "I don't know how to use any software or anything." And I
hmm
think that you should just start with bare bones, like using the trim tool, making jump cuts,
hmm
and that's it. But
I have made a
yeah.
name on YouTube for being the guy who doesn't edit and I just blurt stuff out.
Oh my god. Yeah, no, I think that like
I,
I go down way too many tangents to not edit my videos because I think I cut like I always cut like a 40-minute video down into like 12 polished minutes. Like, thank you, Elysse.
I just
Future.
I don't remember why. Well, when I started this channel, I have another channel with where I was doing like daily vlogs and stuff, and I knew I wanted to document language stuff, but because I was editing like 2 and 3 hours a night for that channel,
So tiring.
and so I didn't want to do that on top of this. And honestly, it worked out because people started to realize I'm not saying don't expect a lot from me, but like they're not knowing that like if you want a nice edited video, this isn't the place to come. But like if you just want a dude who's just talking about languages, like I'm your guy. Like
Yeah.
but I honestly think that I've almost pigeonholed myself into a great position because I don't. Obviously, I'm going to continue to up my quality. I bought lights, I did kind of that stuff, but and I'll slowly do that. But in terms of like, if I just feel like I need to pop a video out, and plus part of my like. Part of what I did get called out on my white t-shirts the other day, so I guess I'm known for that too. But but I guess the other thing I'm known for is just my absolute absurd just tangents of just talk. We're over here now. We're over there now. We're over here. We're back here. Like, but that's almost become me.
People are kind of like that. But for me, I would love to get like a lighting kit, but I move around way too much I've literally been living out of my suitcase since January. So I wish that I could up that kind of quality, but I'm always like, all right, we got to record at 12 p.m. or else we're not going to have a well-lit video. And that's also a part of like oversharing. It's like I start to feel bad or I start to get anxiety if, I'm not, I don't know, even like being productive on YouTube or something. But I think I always try to make up for it with like, I don't know, like nice B-roll or like some nice music or being organized and things like that. So there's definitely, I think, ways that I kind of make up for my sometimes weird quality.
Yeah. Let me see. Come to Japan says he likes to watch both dub and sub. I guess it depends on what it is.
World War VI. Thank you so much for your existence.
Language Come Up says, in Spanish, mi pobre angelito, mi poor little angel, the hangover, que pasó ayer, what happened yesterday. Don't know why they just can't use the Spanish word for hangover.
Oh my gosh.
That's hilarious. Man, yeah,
hangover. There's a different way to express that in like a lot of different dialects,
Dude, the hangover is so like I was thinking about it the other day, man. That movie it's over a decade old.
Yeah, I remember being a kid and like singing the Doug songs, like Doug, Doug.
Oh
Doug.
Yeah, the Ed Helms song, yeah.
I was like, why was my like mom letting that into the house and like into my eyes? I was like 9.
It's weird because like as you get older, it doesn't really matter. But like it is weird to think that like 10 years ago I was still an adult and could see that, but 10 years ago you were a child. Like
yeah, that's insane. Wait, how old are you?
32.
Oh my god! So I was in 2009, 2010. I was 10.
Yeah, I remember when I was I got a job at GameStop when I was 17, and I can remember the people there talking about stuff, and I would be like, oh, that's crazy, but like it's come full circle, which I don't work there anymore, but like I'm the old guy now. Like when I go to work, like there's a couple of people where I work that are like 25. One girl is turning 26, I think, like this weekend, and I'm like, what?
Oh See, I'm scared of that. Like, especially in this language community, I think a lot of people are also attracted to what I make because I just barely turned 20, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, she's like 19 or 20, and she speaks like or knows 7 languages." And I'm like, "Okay, but like, how many can I actually use fluently?" So let's not like glorify.
Right. Which is respectable because there's a lot of people that like to glorify it.
Yeah, I think being humble and knowing that you still have a long way to go helps you a lot in terms of your own path.
Let's see. Nicole says, you both are so inspirational and awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully my... Well, that's the other thing, too. The reason I started this channel, because, like, you see a lot of channels, when they start, they're already good, and it's just kind of, like, constant talking about that. Like, when I started my channel, and I'm sure there's things out there that I'm not thinking of, I don't remember another channel that was like, I'm just full, like, I literally know nothing, we're getting into this.
Yeah, there's like a certain pressure that on YouTube where like you have to be perfect or something. And that's why people always post like videos of them speaking their target languages on Twitter and Instagram and not on YouTube, because people think on YouTube, since you're, posting it on YouTube, it has to be polished and it has to be like good. Like you do not want to be good.
Yeah.
Like my first video ever on YouTube was called Mi Historia, so my story, and it was like the worst Spanish ever. And I was recording it in black and white for some reason, so it's just like, it was a mess for a lot of different reasons, but I still keep it because history. Yeah,
man, one of my favorite movies of all time was filmed in black and white. So Clerks.
Was it Clerks? Please tell me it was not Clerks. Oh my god! I knew he was gonna say Clerks. That's so funny.
Dude, Kevin Smith is like my entire, honestly, like a lot of my life was shaped by Kevin Smith. Like I love that dude's movies. Like I have I have a whole like box of like signed figures and stuff by him. Like I have his comics that he did. Like
One of my favorite movies. That's insane because I've been, for some reason, Clerks has been resurfacing in my life these past couple weeks for no reason. Like my brother started talking about it, and my boyfriend is also really into film and media production, so he was started talking about it. So I think this is like a sign that I need to watch it again.
oh my god, dude, it's the best. It's so good. It's so
All right,
good.
we're like slowly edging away from language.
Yeah.
It
Let's
is,
see. Your
that's fine.
your guys conception of fluency, knowing how to talk about every single thing, or if you're able to speak as you'd speak in your daily in your native language is already enough. So
Yeah.
my definition of fluency, first off, I don't even really care too much for the word, like because I feel like with that word comes a certain thing, like, and even if you know what you mean by it, I feel like so many people judge you by that, right? Like they'll be like, oh, you're fluent, well, what do you call the third spark plug in a car motor? And I'm
Yeah,
like, I don't know that in English. Is there a different, I don't know, but like to me, if you can navigate the language, and even if you have to look something up, you can look at, like, you know enough to be able to look it up. Like if you can navigate that language and operate in that language, I mean, I think that you would be the F word.
like finding, like being able to navigate your way around not knowing vocabulary. So like, in my lessons, like multiple times, I will always be like, how do you call that thing that does the thing with the thing? And then they're like, oh, it's that. So then it's like, finding your way around it. And for me, see, being fluent is something different from being advanced, because fluent just means like, this, and it means that you are confident, and you can be confident at B1 or you can be confident at C2. So it's like, for me, I think I would qualify myself as fluent in German, but I'm not advanced. So I couldn't do the Declaration of Human Rights from the UN, but like,
Right.
I can talk about my day. I can, talk about politics. I can talk about what I think about a lot of different things, and it comes out all the same.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Let me see. Good question. I kind of wonder when is the right time to say you can speak a language. I think that's purely up to you. I say I speak Spanish, and that's because I passed a B1 certification. But if someone were to, like, I would have to really, like, I haven't used Spanish in well over a year, so I feel like if I spent a good week or two like just reading a bunch in Spanish, like, and I'm not talking like when I fall asleep at night and I read 3 minutes of a Harry Potter book, but like if I spent a good 30 minutes or an hour a day just reading a little bit to kind of re-get that language into my head, I think I'd be fine. Like,
solid. Yeah. Sometimes you just need this, like literally when your car battery dies, that you just need a jump.
yeah.
And that's why sometimes before my lessons, I'll do some listening to kind of re-put that into my brain.
Yep. Let's see. Valeria says, "Yay, Elysse, glad I caught the live stream or caught the stream." I added a word there.
I know it'll exist even after we're gone.
Language come up says, "What is a Latin country that you haven't visited that you want to visit the most?"
Brazil, of course. I would always say Brazil because I can't go because I am a woman, and the thing is, like, I don't even know. In Latin America, it's like a whole different. There's like a whole different system of how things are. So it's like I always tell my friends, like, I want to go to Brazil so bad, but I can't because one, it's expensive to go from the United States. Two, I'm a woman and it's just more dangerous for me. So I need to go with a friend, or I need to meet up with a friend that is Brazilian that would meet me there. And like, yeah, it basically has to be a man. And luckily, my Brazilian pen pal that I've been talking to for like 2 years, he's a guy. So I think I have the security to go there in the future, but time will tell.
Yeah.
Oh, they're an amazing people, and yeah, I feel like it's kind of like getting to know a long lost twin when I would finally get to know go there.
Yeah, I think Brazil would be pretty sweet. Let me see. All right, that's all that's in the chat right now. It is an hour and 20 minutes. I didn't realize we've been going for an hour and 20 minutes.
It's probably cold by now.
But I will. Well, I'll start wrapping up here because I've been trying to wrap them at about an hour anyway, because just to spend a little bit more time studying. So, if anybody has any final questions, let me know, and I'm gonna start wrapping up here. Thanks for coming on.
Super fun, and I feel like I should be more involved. So it's been good for me to get out of my little shell, my corner with Spanish.
Yeah, no, I mean, I do what you're comfortable with, you know? Like that's the big
All here at the end,
the big
but
thing. Hold on, let me see.
I'm really thankful that we do have such a good online community.
Yeah, there's bad seeds everywhere, obviously, you know, and I know that like there's just so much stuff that happens on Twitter sometimes where I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna not.
Twitter is a whole different thing, man. I barely got on Twitter in like March, you know. So it's been an interesting learning process because having it for a personal account and having it for a language account where debates often take place, and to be honest, it can be kind of weird and catty sometimes. I'm just like, all right, here in the corner with my own stuff. But
Yeah, I try not to get baited in. I have been before, and honestly, I've just got to the point where if I see something and I disagree with it, I'm just like, you know what?
yeah, if I don't care or if I don't like something somebody said, I just don't respond, don't favorite it. And, you know, if it's bad enough, I'll just unfollow the person because, like, I don't know, there's like some, I guess, like, etiquette, like, you need to be cordial with people, but, like, if I don't like what you're saying, I don't want it on my timeline, and that's it. So, and that goes for generally, you know, not just on language stuff.
Let me see here. I'm gonna end with this question from Valeria. Actually, this will be the last question. I know neither of you are single, but curious, in a different universe, would you date someone who doesn't speak your native language?
Bro, this part. So my native language, okay, yeah. I've gotten into like relationships with, so in the past, this was like traumatizing because last year I had a really weird like situation with a guy that I met in Mexico, but he barely spoke English. And that was never like a part in why things didn't work out. It was, you know, but my native language, I think that no, that would never be a deal breaker. I think that I would definitely feel like something missing sometimes because there's just some things that like are untranslatable, and then you know, if they're coming from a different, if they don't speak English, they're probably coming from a different culture where there's going to be some clashes. But I don't think that's a deal breaker.
Yeah. When I was not growing up, when I got into languages in 2009, from then I was like, I am going to move to Japan, marry a Japanese woman, never have to speak English again, and I was perfectly fine with that.
World is funny.
My world is completely different, and I'm incredibly happy that my world is different. But you know, it's that was my goal. So that was not a deal breaker at all for me.
Possibility. There's also, I thought the question originally was going to be, would you ever date a person who is not interested in languages? And I think, like in the past, I was always like, I would never date a guy that is not interested or doesn't at least speak to like growing up spoke another language. But you know, you can't really control that because like my boyfriend's pretty much a monolingual. He like studies Japanese, but you know, it's like a completely different thing for me than it is for him. So
yeah,
can't really control that.
Well, that's my wife has no interest in languages, and I'm fine with that. Like it would be cool if she was, you know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she's not. So who
Yeah,
gets?
it's just like you love a person, you love them even if they don't have the same interests as you, which happens.
But she did.
Same interests in like profession, but we have different hobbies, and that's fine.
Yeah, and that's she tried to do the Esperanto tree when I was doing Esperanto. So I mean, you know, she stepped us out of our comfort zone in that. But she doesn't. And that's the thing. You can't even like if you don't have an interest in it, you don't have an interest in it.
Yeah, you can't really force like some things, and yeah, it really is like different for some people. So I respect that 100%.
Yeah.
But it was nice if you know he like was fluent in another language, but that's fine.
Somebody said that past Seabolt was a weeaboo. That's what's funny is I'm not like the idea that like because like the whole thing is like, oh, you love anime and all, like I have no interest in that. Like anime is something I'm still trying to get into it today. I just don't care. My love of Japanese comes from, spoiler alert, pro wrestling.
God damn it. Okay, see, this is what I and this whole life I'm just like, I never knew that about you.
That was my oh man. As a matter of fact, I was going back and forth. My hair is like I'm growing my hair back out because I like my hair longer. And this beanie that I wear, it's a GCW beanie, which is like it's like a
Okay.
It's a super huge, like it's an indie promotion in America, but they're
that's how dear this beanie is.
yep.
But yeah,
But
I can confidently say I've never taken an interest in wrestling, and that's perfectly fine.
no, it rules, man. But I fully understand. So, um,
Right.
I just realized Seabolt reads our weird conversations in this chat. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh,
We're
so
like
I-
surveilling.
somebody said I want to date a hieroglyphic native.
Period. You
What?
might have to time travel for that one, but
All right, so
love is love.
but yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna go. I will wrap it up and let you go do whatever you got to do and all that, and I'm gonna get some study in. So thanks everybody so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Do you have any final thoughts? I always do this like Jerry Springer thing at the end. Do you have any final thoughts for the audience here?
Jerry Springer. Do you mean
Oh
Stephen
God,
King?
no.
No,
Just
that's a different person. Larry King.
no.
Huh?
I'm gonna pretend I didn't say that. Okay, just do you have any final thoughts?
My final thoughts. Gosh, do what you love, and I'm gonna go eat dinner. That's it.
There you go. Heck yeah. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'm stalling for time to get over to my dashboard. There we go. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next stream.
Bye. See you.